So what was that decision like for you, the experience of letting go of the expectation to marry a woman or to date a woman, and when did you let go of that, and how did that experience play out?
I didn't really let go of it until I guess late 2004, when I'd already moved to New York. I sort of, and people who talk to me about my religion and my homosexuality over the years can attest to the fact that, you know, I'm in a very different place now than I was even probably a year ago. I actually did date a woman pretty seriously in 2004, and it was something that I definitely felt. It was all sort of, you know, based on that original pact I made after my mission to pursue relationships in a way that was really authentic. I was at church, and I think I was actually at one of the General Conference meetings, and it was in the Manhattan Stake Center, and I saw this woman, and I think that I'd seen her before at other functions or something like that, but I'd been in and out of the city so much that, you know, but I just felt this sort of electric, you know, thing that was like, you need to ask that girl out, and I was like, okay. And it's a really awkward situation. I don't know if I can sort of like help you appreciate the awkwardness of it, because everyone knows that I'm gay. Like I made no bones about the fact that, you know, I like boys, but you know, I'm still going to church, and I think people are kind of like, that's cool. You can just process that however you want, you know. And but so going up to a girl though and saying like, I want to go out with you is kind of awkward, because everyone knows you're gay, and so then you get this whole kind of backlash from other people who are like, you are gay, you shouldn't be dating women. But then I hearken back to what I originally said at the very beginning, which is you feel like you can't be happy unless you're in the church, and you can't really be in the church unless you're, you know, trying to couple with a woman. I mean, you can be a celibate gay man in the church, but that's just something that I know I would never want to do. I'm not here to live my life alone, and that's not what I'm about. Like, so the only way I could stay in the church, I knew, was to get married and at least be able to have some sort of relationship emotionally and sexually with someone. And the only person you can do that with in the church is a woman. So hear these people saying, you're gay, that's not fair to her. And here's me saying like, well, I want to be happy though, and the only way I can be happy is to be a Mormon. So what do I do? You know? And so I actually didn't really get, I know some other men have had a lot more trouble with their peers in this way, people coming out and saying like, you're gay, you cannot sacrifice this woman on the altar of your homosexuality, on the altar of your own happiness. Like, you need to find another way to be happy. But then if you're buying into the fact that you can't be happy outside of the church, then you're like, well, then I can't be happy. Like, I'm not born to be happy. And then we're back to square one, you know, which is a really frustrating place to be, especially if you feel like you have taken some sort of a journey to get to that point where, you know, where I was. So I asked this girl out, and literally, I think when I asked her out, I was like, you might hear, or you may have heard, that I'm gay, and that is true. I'm like, I have always identified myself as gay, but I just want to tell you right now exactly where I stand. I'm really committed to being in the church right now, and I really want to be happy, and I felt a strong spiritual urging to ask you out. And, you know, I wasn't about to be one of those people that's like, God revealed to me that you're my wife, you know? But I was like, I felt this. If you feel drawn to me, if you feel drawn to explore this in any way, like, that's great. If you think this is not for you in any way, then that's awesome. I fully support your journey, and I will not be hurt at all, because I totally understand what a precarious situation this is. And this girl that I met, she was like, you know what? I'm not dating anyone, and I think you're a really awesome guy, and I think you're really cool, and I think it could be a great learning experience for both of us. And so let's just see where it goes and see what happens. And so for probably a couple of months, we were seeing each other almost every day, and I had a lot of really powerful experiences, because it was like everything that I'd ever hoped would happen with someone. I was getting this sort of like, I felt this kind of connection starting with this girl, but at the same time, I was kind of feeling this. I think a lot of the emotion that I was generating was coming from the fact that I felt so gratified about what was happening. You know what I mean? I was so grateful that I was that I had felt this way, that I'd felt this strong urging to be with this, to ask this girl out. I was like, wow, God is really coming through. He's really coming through on his promise to prepare someone for me and to take me to this place. And I was having a lot of my peers that were like, you know what, if this is what you want to do and you're being really honest and that person really understands the situation, then great. No one can tell you how to live your life but you, And so I was like, wow, this is really awesome. And one thing that I will say right now is that I think a lot of women that come into this position that this young lady was in, I think that they're like, yeah, no, I understand. I understand. They, but they can't. They can't really, really understand. And even if they're like, I'll totally date you. I'll totally be with you. I'll totally marry you. I'll totally have children with you. I think on a certain level, they believe what they've learned and grown up in the church to believe, and that is that homosexuality doesn't actually exist. That it's not real. It's some sort of product of lack of connection with a father, or it's some sort of, and I'm not by any means decrying the environmental factors that may have played into homosexuality, but I do think that Mormonism and other organized religions that are against, this behavior in any way, they definitely have a really strong investment in making sure that people understand that homosexuality is totally reversible, changeable, whatever you want to call it, and that the actual being of a sexual preference toward the same gender is not real. And so for someone who grew up in that background, a woman, she's caught in this sort of interesting paradigm as well, in this sort of spot, because she's been taught to be really loving and really accepting of people who are different. She's been taught to be, charitable, a Christian, you know what I mean? And so here's this guy who's coming to her, and he's so tormented, and he so wants to be with her, and he so wants to love her, and so many of the guys that she's met in the past, have said they just haven't shown as much interest. And so here's this guy, he's so passionate, he wants it so much, and so she's kind of like, well, I think I should explore with this guy. He's coming to me with so much. He so wants to be close to the Lord. He has such a strong testimony of the gospel. He's fighting this thing, this huge thing, clearly is really huge. I don't really understand it as a woman, but it's clearly really, really huge to him. And look how he's fighting it. He's so diligent. He loves the Lord so much. A, B, C, D. And so she kind of feels really drawn to explore this with him, because here's someone who's really fighting for their connection with the church.